Hey everyone, so earlier today I had a really interesting question that came through from Gregory, who is a subscriber, and Gregory wanted to know, he said, you may have covered this already, but I was wondering why you have never really spoken about owning a Kelly or a Birkin. Do you have a certain perspective on the Hermès kind of game or process you have to go through? Or do you simply not like the style of the bag? Thank you, Gregory. Really appreciate the question, and I actually think it's a really good one. So why do I not own any Hermès bags? Well, I do actually have two things that I own from there, not bags, that I'll come on to in a second, because they're kind of part of the reason why I don't have any of the bags. The reason why I don't own any of their bags is for two reasons. First of all, I can't say that I really love the styles enough to proceed to go and spend the money. I mean, if you think about it, a Dior bag, you can pick up a good Dior bag for anywhere between sort of £2,000 and £3,000, which is, it's enough for a bag. Whereas with Hermès, you're looking at, I don't even know the exact prices, because I've never been that interested to even really go into details on it. So if any of you are customers of theirs and you know the prices, then please put the details below, because that's actually quite interesting for everyone. Because obviously with their key hero bags, they're not even on their website because you can't buy them. So prices, it's you know, it's harder to know. But that's my first reason. I don't actually love any of their bags enough to proceed to go and spend that kind of money on it. I've said before that out of all of their bags, the one, probably the only one that I would consider buying is the Constance bag, probably in the smaller size if I was going to go and get it. But then again, the reason why I haven't is because I think that bag's around 7,000 plus. And I don't love it enough to want to spend 7,000 on it. I went through a period of time, probably back in 2008, where I really liked the Birkin. And out of all of the Hermès bags, that was probably the one that, I don't know if I would have gone ahead and bought it, but I just liked the look of it. And that bag, I feel, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, that bag was particularly popular back then, just as I remember it anyway. Kind of in the 2010s, there was that whole kind of, well, one of the looks was kind of really tight trousers with really high, like, platform boots and a blazer jacket over the top and like a really big scarf and then like a really large designer bag. That was one of the looks anyway, and it was quite popular back then. But I think what really changed for me is I went from really quite liking it to it actually starting to feel a bit mainstream. I think it's kind of gone back now, it's not quite so mainstream, but I tell you what it was. It was things like, at the time I used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and they just kind of had every size and every colour, particularly of the Birkin. And it kind of, I like the Kardashians, don't get me wrong, but it kind of put me off slightly, I think, because I remember at one point, I can't remember which one, but one of them had it in like neon yellow, and they'd styled it with kind of thigh-high boots and a neon yellow top. And I think I kind of started looking at the bag, and maybe it was the way that it was being styled, that I looked at it and I was like, oh no, I don't really, you know, what once felt quite classy I'm terrified about causing any offence. I'm not trying to. Just for, you know, you've asked me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. But from that point of view, whenever I looked at the bag, I kind of had that skew in my mind about it. And I do think that's changed over the last sort of 10 years. I feel that it's kind of got its exclusivity back a bit, and it's one of those bags that you don't see so much again, which is quite nice. But I've gone off it in recent years. It's not something that I buy now. The second reason, so the first reason is I don't like any of them enough to go and spend the cash, even though if you're into bags and you want to make money and you want to get your money back out, they are the brands to kind of go for. The second reason is to do with this game that everyone talks about. I don't know too much about it firsthand because I've never gone to ask for a bag, but from what people have said, I've seen I've seen quite a few people mention being, you know, slightly shamed for asking, or made to feel a bit embarrassed, or like they don't understand the process. And to be honest, from my point of view, I am quite a respectful person, and I kind of expect a bit of respect back as well, particularly when you're spending that kind of money. Now again, I'm jumping to a conclusion here because I've never actually been to buy one, and it could be a really lovely experience even if they don't have any. But from my only experience with Hermès, which I'll talk to you about in a second, that has also put me off giving them any more of my money. So yeah, it's the kind of game that I'm not willing to pay, because when you're spending that kind of money, I feel like there's a way of handling it. And also I was told by a personal shopper a couple of years ago that in order to kind of get your name on a list, you had to buy, I think it was around about £10,000 worth of all of the bits and pieces, like belts and shoes and bracelets, and you've kind of got to build that up and then they'll think about it. But then I've also had those of you, remember I had one of you who said you went to Vegas and there was a Birkin in the window, and I think you said it was in crocodile or something. Let me talk about this experience, which is my other reason why I just would not even, I don't even want to kind of give my money. So I've got two items from Hermès. The first is this bracelet, and I kind of knew, I'd seen them online pre-loved, and I saw that they got quite scratched up. But for the money that this was, I'm quite disappointed with it. It's really badly scratched up, and I haven't really worn it that much. And actually, know me, I actually even kept the protective sticker on it for a while because I knew how it was going to end up, and I didn't want it going that way. But also, I've noticed with mine very slightly on some of the edges that the gold has started rubbing off, and I feel like this is a £500 bracelet, and for costume jewellery, I don't think it's worth it. I think you can get real gold for that. So from a quality perspective, already I didn't love it. Then last November, for my birthday, I knew I wanted to get one of their belts, and I knew the one that I wanted to get. So before I even went to go and buy the belt, I'd already been online and I already knew the style. And I knew that I wanted the silver hardware, and it's kind of corrugated. And I wanted to get this colorway, either the tan or black, but I also wanted to get a brighter color. I went to the concession in Harrods, and the whole process of buying this belt was really hard work. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think the kind of person I am, when I go into any store, luxury or non-luxury or anything, I'm very respectful. I'm not kind of someone who's like, go and fetch me this and go and get me that. That's not me at all. But this experience was awful. The process was, I think there was a few people in front of me, so someone came over, took my details and added me on a form to like a list they had. Then when it was your turn, someone would come over and help you. Gentleman came over to help. He was like, what are you interested in? I already knew. I was like, this belt, this colorway. I think I'd screenshot it. I was just like, this is what I need. This is the size that I'd like to try it in. So he went off to go and get it. And the whole thing, I don't know where he went, but he went and disappeared off for anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. The first kind of 10 minutes, myself and my husband were stood around being like, oh, it's only a belt, you know, what's going on? We were also going out for dinner that evening, so we didn't have an hour to kill. I thought I'd be able to get this purchase done and dusted within sort of 20 minutes. I didn't see it as like a really big thing to go and buy. After half an hour, so my husband and I ended up sitting on some chairs that were next to the till in the Harrods concession. This guy hasn't come back again. He like went into the stockroom and then he never came back out again. So I went and asked this other chap that was working there, said, I'm looking for this particular sales associate. We've got to go in a minute. He's gone to find a belt. He's literally been gone like 20, 30 minutes. Can you go and see where he is? You know, when you just think, I've wasted nearly half an hour, I might as well see this through to completion. So anyway, the guy that I've asked to go and find out where the first guy is comes back up and he's like, oh, he's just gonna be like a moment. The next thing I saw is the actual sales associate that's gone to find this and has been gone 30 minutes is at the other end of the concession serving a completely different customer. By this point, I was fuming, and it takes quite a lot for me to get annoyed, but I was just like, this is so disrespectful and rude and arrogant. It's not the deal of the century. We can get this wrapped up within 10 minutes. So we got up to go. He come straight over, and I can't even remember the excuse he made, but he was like, oh, really sorry, something, whatever. And he then went, he still didn't have the belt. He still didn't have it. He goes off again, another 10 minutes. We were in there 45 minutes easily, possibly closer to an hour. In the end, I got the belt. The second guy, this is so confusing, the second guy that I'd asked to go and find the guy who was looking for the belt, comes out with the belt himself at this point, goes to the till, starts wrapping it up for me. Then the original guy comes over to the till after I've paid when it needs parceling up. He's like, oh, here's the dust bag for your belt. There you go, in the bag, bye. And I said, I would like a box. I didn't realise that was such a hard thing to ask for. In other concessions, you don't even get asked. Sometimes you do. For example, sometimes in Dior, Anne-Lee, hello if you're watching, Anne-Lee will say to me, do you want a box? Because I buy quite a lot of Dior, and the boxes actually take up quite a lot of room, and there have been times where I'm like, no, just stick it in the bag. But I wanted an Hermès box, and I really had to fight for it. So that was my experience. I found it rude, disrespectful, and I thought, if that's what it's like buying a belt, you're not having my money for a bag. And I just want to say that Hermès is a really prestigious brand, and I don't mean any disrespect to any of you watching who love it. It's like anything, it's like any brand. Some people love it, other people don't love it. I've got my personal reasons why I've never gone ahead and done it. But I do think that the brand have done a really good job. Actually, if I'm to be honest, I think the brand have done a really good job with the bags, because by limiting the number of people that they sell them to, they've managed to keep that air of prestige, and they've managed to keep the prices worth it. And also because they don't produce that many, from what I've seen, the quality looks really good. Whereas with Chanel, they've put the prices up and up and up, but they have quality issues. And I think that what Hermès have done is a really good way of, as I say, keeping that exclusivity. The fact that you can't just walk in to go and buy one is in a way, that is true luxury. You know, go back, I guess, to the 80s, and luxury wasn't that anyone off the street could go in and buy something. It was luxury, and the service around it was very different. And I guess in the last sort of 30 years or so, that's changed, and it's become more accessible to a lot of us. But with Hermès, they're still holding on to that, and I do really like it. And Hermès aren't the only one, you know. I can think of a couple of luxury car brands who purposefully decide who gets their cars, and they also don't manufacture lots of them, and they do it on purpose so that it keeps the numbers of them on the road low, so that they still look high end, and they also hold their money better when you come to resell them. And I think the strategy works really well. Can anyone who is a customer, if I've maybe had a bad experience with customer service, then let me know. I actually, after it, I googled the Hermès concession in Harrods, and it's got terrible feedback. Lots of people in there talking about a very similar level of customer service, but then people saying that I think this standalone store, and where is it, Sloane Street, I think that a lot of people say that's a lot better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you actually in the comments. I'm going to talk to you now.